Mitch, thank you very much. News this morning that you have been extended through 2028. Congratulations, and I'm sure you're excited about the news.
Thank you, Matt. I am genuinely thrilled to be able to extend my time at the University of Kentucky and continue to lead our program. I love our young people and our coaches, and clearly I've got some really cool things we want to look ahead to do, and so yeah, really excited. It's a good day.
When I know at various times, everybody sits and says, is this where I want to retire, where I want to finish my career? Have you kind of made that determination for yourself that, like, this is, at least for your major working life, where you want to kind of finish your time?
Oh, I think certainly. When we first came to Kentucky, it was probably one of those things you say in 8 to 10 years, you'll look on to the next adventure in your life. And after that period of time, my wife and I, with our family firmly entrenched here, decided that this was a really special place for us. And so we've been here 22 years, and there's no place we would rather be. We have bought some land in the country, and we love being a part of the Commonwealth, and we feel like, I was talking to a guy one time, he said, you're not from here, and this was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I said, how long do you have to be somewhere where you're actually from there? I said, we've got grandchildren born here, I got kids with degrees from the University of Kentucky, so this place is incredibly special to us, and we feel like we're in the fabric of the Commonwealth, and more importantly of Lexington and of the university, and so incredibly thankful to Dr. Capilouto and the trustees and Eric Monday and for their confidence in us, but I think that there's obviously some work and things we want to do. But this is I don't know how you framed it, but in terms of most of my life's work, yes, it'll be here, and then we'll stay here and hopefully be able someday to be able to enjoy the festivities of game day and all of those things. But for now, we've got work to do.
Well, let's talk about the work that's you have to do. I mean, I'm not sure any college sports has in its history seen its landscape change more than in the last 3 years with realignment, with NIL, with all kinds of it's different now. I think you've noticed that. I've watched your positions evolve over time. So tell me now, going into this fall and a new year of athletics, what do you think are the most important things that need to be done at the University of Kentucky?
Well, I think there's different buckets of things that are at work here. You've got one that is obviously at a very global level of college athletics, whether that is legislation, that is litigation, that is conference and national office kind of issues. That's one bucket. Then you've got the local bucket that has everything to do with your facilities and your coaches and your student athletes and the running of your program every day. So that is a piece of that. And then you have your general operating, just trying to find a way to make sure that your finances and everything are in order so you can continue to keep your people, especially your high quality people in your program, that you can keep them around. And then there's a component in there, Matt, that we talk about all the time, and it's flat out. There's two things that we want our student athletes and our coaches to focus on. One is to make sure we're educating and make sure we're competing. And those two things, we are a part of an institution of higher learning, and I never want to lose sight of that. I think we forget that part. That is a component where we are teaching generational things, whether that's opportunity, whether that's leadership, or that's how to manage wealth. Those are things that we're teaching our people as they begin to take on their own families and take on their own lives.
Well, let's talk football for a second. We start this fall. You got new turf, et cetera, or new whatever playing surface is, whatever it's called now. You look at Kroger Field today. It looks so much different than it did 7 years ago on many levels. It's much upgraded. Are there still things you think need to be done to the football, whether it's the stadium or the facilities around the program, or do you like where it is?
No, I think we like where it is, but there's always things we would like to do. I think there's amenities that we will continue to try and add. They're just, at times, they're expensive, and so we've got to pick and choose which projects we can do, and when we can do them, it's not as easy as just to say we're going to do them and immediately you snap your fingers and they're done. Obviously there's funding models for those, and and construction pieces, and there's certain obviously amenities that fans want. The Wi-Fi piece is something that hangs out there. A distributed sound system for Kroger Field is something we would like to do. Both really highly expensive items, and as it just relates to the other things we've got to do in our program, those are things that are on the docket in our thought processes. But there's also some things we've got to attack in other areas before we get to that. But certainly those are things that are important to us at Kroger Field, among some other things. We've got some things we think will help in terms of creating more revenue for us, which is a part of today's land. We've got to pay attention to that because that's how we fund our program and how we're able to continue to move forward. So that's a piece of it as well. But there's some other areas. The Memorial Coliseum piece is really a massive project for us. It's an $85-90 million project that is iconic to our campus, and trying to bring to life a 1950s building that bring it back into the modern era. And so that's probably an 18-month project for us as well, that we'll be ready to do some competitive stuff in there in the fall of next year, but it won't be completely completed until spring of 25. So a lot of work on that one. But if you've stuck your nose in, or if you've had a chance to look through the windows, it's completely gutted. So we've obviously, there's no turning back now. Now we got to finish the deal. So obviously we've got to make sure we've got the resources necessary to complete that project.
So let's on the NIL piece. I mean, we've talked a lot on this show about what you think the rules of the landscape should be, and I know those conversations are happening everywhere, including in Congress. But let's just take the UK place where it is now, just the University of Kentucky. Under the rules that exist today, do you feel like in the major sports, Kentucky is on pace to be where it needs to be competitive NIL-wise?
Yeah, I do. I think that people, you can go anywhere on the spectrum. You can find people at every spot on the spectrum. I feel like our coaches are very thoughtful about what they're doing. They haven't come to us and said, "Hey, we're in. This is a spot we think we need to do." We've had those conversations about what we need to do and make sure that we're in line. Obviously, we've been, I would say, consistent in what we've done. I wouldn't say that we've been, we're clearly not going 85 in a 75-mile-an-hour zone. We've been consistent in what we're doing and trying to find a pathway forward to make sure that makes sense for our program, our student athletes, making sure we find balance between the things that we're doing with our donor funds and the collectives and all of those pieces. And so we've found balance. I think there's a national landscape that blends into that says this is where it's going. And to be honest, if you said what is that, I don't have a clue. I think we're all hopeful there'll be a steadiness to that nationally that'll give us all a little bit of a opportunity to calm the waters a little bit, so everyone's on the same playing field. And right now we just haven't had that. We haven't had that. So I'm hopeful that on a national level that things will level out a little bit, and we'll get to a different spot. But for right now, I think that we're navigating the waters efficiently well, and our coaches seem to be in a good spot.
Let's talk just a second about realignment. I know you don't speak for the conference, but you do speak for Kentucky, so I am interested in your thoughts. I mean, it looked like the Pac-12 was going to make it, and then it didn't. You got 4 of the teams in the Pac-12 going to the Big Ten. 3 went to the Big 12. There's some talk that Cal, Stanford, and SMU might end up in the ACC. If those things happen, there's a chance that those leagues will actually end up with more than 16 teams. When you look at the SEC, do you think there's value in going to 18 or 20, or do you think 16 is where the SEC needs to be?
Yeah, I would speak for Kentucky. From our perspective and our lens, as you said, I can't speak for the league. Obviously, those are conversations that occur between the commissioner and the presidents and the ADs. Obviously, we're involved in those, but it's a global conversation. But I love our footprint with what we've got. We've added 2 really, really dynamic programs in Oklahoma and Texas that have well-rounded, well-balanced programs that have elite level athletes that win national championships and conference championships where they currently reside. So I love what we've got geographically. It makes good sense for our student athletes and their travel and the way that they get to and from. The trip from Kentucky to Austin, Texas is by plane 10 minutes longer than any trip that we currently have, which makes it good sense to me. That makes sense. I don't like the thought of running our athletes coast to coast. Maybe others are okay with that. I'm fine with where we are. I like the footprint that we have. I think it fits us. The institutions we've brought into our conference fit our league, and there's good camaraderie and good connection there. I feel my heart breaks for my friends at Oregon State. I was there for 5 years and have incredible friendships out there, and to see them I left out, that hurts. I don't like that. It saddens me a little bit for some of the rivalries that I think maybe disappear in this. I know everyone says, well, things change and just get over it. But there are times a little bit of a traditionalist, and I think that some of those things are pretty special, and you just lose some of that. But clearly great friendships for those people, and I hope that it can all sort of filter out and they find a spot where they can continue to have a solid room, because they're really, really good folks.
I got two questions and I'll get you out. Let's start with this one. I know you have evolved or changed the policy, and you're on alcohol. It's going to be it was at baseball games. It's going to be at football games this fall. I still think some fans don't totally have an understanding of what it's going to be like when they get there next week. Can you give the basics of what it will be like for people that go to the game on the alcohol side?
Yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward. We'll have beer and seltzers, and they'll be available through the end of the third quarter. Obviously, at that point in time, it's a conference rule. It's not our rule. At the end of the third quarter, all alcohol sales have to cease. So they'll be available in the public areas, and they'll have an opportunity, obviously within the rules of the alcohol enforcement policies, to be able to buy as they go with proper IDs and all that stuff. And there'll be selected venues. They're not going to be at every concession stand, because we've got some concession stands that'll merely be food and soft drink. So there'll be selected places, and there'll be some that'll help opportunities to get people in and out quickly. So hopefully there won't be backups, but obviously this is our first try at it, so we're going to be a little new to it, and hopefully there'll be two things: one, on patience on every level as we learn how to do it efficiently well, and we do it safely and make sure we get everybody served properly. So I think that our staff got a really good opportunity to work with it during baseball last year. That's why we sort of soft rolled it out, if you will, and had an opportunity to do that. Obviously, that will also extend to Rupp Arena this year. And so we've got a lot of our women's events down there this fall. And so that'll give us a chance to preview that as we move into Rupp Arena as well. So it's new for us. It's obviously we're going to have a lot of checks and sort of after action kind of looks to make sure that we're doing it the right way. But I think people will find that the parameters we put in it last spring will allow them to enjoy it, I hope, safely, and make the game day experience better for those that wish to participate.
Last question. You last year at the end of basketball season said what I think a lot of fans felt, which was kind of our performance level needs to increase. You've seen the off season, a lot of new players, a lot of new additions with the men's basketball program. How do you feel like things stand going into this season for men's basketball?
Well, I'm certainly glad they got a summer together and had a chance to go to Toronto and play some games up there. I think it was exciting for our fans to see the high level of talent that is on our team. Had an opportunity to spend time with each other. I think that was really important in today's world of ever-changing rosters. for guys to be able to understand and to learn how they play with each other in terms of on the court. I just think that was a critical time for us, and it was exciting for me. I saw some guys that love the game. They don't want to. No one says they all say they don't want to lose, right? But to say you don't want to lose and then to back it up with your actions is really important. And they proved that they have got a will to win. And it's a phrase overused at times, but at this point, I think they're guys that are accustomed to winning. And I think that was sort of evident, even at the global jam, where everyone says, well, it's summer basketball and don't know who we're playing, but that was important to them to come home as winners, and I thought that was important. You establish winning habits early on, and that was an important thing, to establish a winning habit. And so I had a chance to meet with the team the other day as we do our fall intro team meetings, and just spend some time with them. That's really my first one-on-one with the entire team back, and that was great, and had a chance just to talk about what it takes to represent Kentucky. And I made sure that we talked about that, and we talked about with every program, and gave a historical perspective of what it meant to represent the University of Kentucky, this fan base, and the Commonwealth. And we wanted to hit that with every program, and I think that was especially important as we walk through that with our young people in our basketball program. But I like our guys. I think we've made progress in terms of just the intensity and getting them ready and ramped up and ready to go. So season ticket sales are obviously going very, very well for basketball. Sold out in football, so thank you to our fan base on both those fronts. The sellout in football, first time since Coach Brooks' era we were able to sell out season tickets, and basketball is going really, really well. And so excited on both fronts, and feel like we've made progress, and looking forward to all of our seasons, frankly.
All right. Mitch Barnhart, thank you very much. Sold out in football for the first time since the Rich Brooks era. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time.